Hello and welcome. I'm going to go live here on Instagram as well. Welcome everyone to How to Be More Comfortable on Camera. My name is McKenna Sage and I am the co-founder and CEO of Follow Your Aliveness and also the Mastery of Coaching group for those of you who are watching here in our group. Today I decided to go live on Instagram as well, so we've got both of these going. Welcome everyone. As you join in, say hello and let me know what questions you have about this topic of how to be more comfortable on camera. We're going to be talking specifically today about video camera. So some of you may know that I love photo shoots. I do a lot of photo shoots. And if you've been an admirer of my shoots, or if you just feel like you really want to know how to be more comfortable on still camera, I don't actually have a training on that yet, but what I do have is a photo shoot guide, which is like a free guide I designed. I think it's like 12 pages, and it's all about how to take great pictures at any budget. So if that's something you're curious about, just type pictures in the chat here, type the word pictures, and make sure if you're watching on Facebook that you send me a friend request so that I can message you the link to the guide. And if you are on Instagram, make sure you're following me, send me a message, and I'll send you that guide. So remember, type pictures. If you're on Instagram, you'll want to send me a direct message though and say, hey, I'd love the photo shoot guide. So that's still photos because we're not going to be talking about that today. What we're going to be going into is how to be more comfortable on video camera. Okay, awesome, Asha. I'll make sure you get that. So this is one of my favorite topics, and believe it or not, even though I love photo shoots, I used to get very nervous being on video camera, and I've come a long way, and I'm excited to share some of what I have learned and how I've developed this into more of something that I feel really comfortable with, because I think it's just so powerful for your business, and we're going to be talking more about that. So this video is really for you if you've been struggling with, or you're feeling nervous or self-conscious on video. And if you relate to that, go ahead and type nervous in the chat. I want to make this really interactive. I want to hear from you, ladies or men or whoever's watching, about what is coming up for you around being comfortable on video. So if you feel nervous or self-conscious being on video, then go ahead and type nervous in the chat so I kind of know who's watching and what you're dealing with here. If you feel like your message isn't coming through authentically, sometimes people say like, I got the courage up, I'm making videos, but I feel like my message isn't really coming through the way I want it to. I may be stumbling over my words, or I just don't know how to communicate clearly on video. If that feels more true for you, then type authentic. If you don't feel like you're coming through authentically and that your message is coming through clearly, type authentic in the chat. All right. And then lastly, if you're just not getting the results you want from your videos. Now, I don't mean a million people watching and, tons and tons of engagement, because the truth is engagement is important. You want to have some people watching, you want to have people engaging, but what's even more important for those of you who have your own business, what do you think is even more important? I want you to tell me in the chat in terms of engagement and really getting results with your video. If you have your own business, what are the kinds of results that you want to be getting? Ideally, there's always a delay, so I want to ask these questions and wait for you guys to answer, but then I'm like, but there's a delay. They might be typing. Well, here's what I'll tell you what it is. Okay, so ideally you want ideal clients watching and becoming curious about working with you, if they're the right fit to work with you, right? And then either reaching out to you or being open to starting a conversation about how you could support them further. Is everyone on board for that? Like more ideal clients watching your videos and reaching out? If so, type I'm in the chat. Type I'm in the chat, okay? So for those of you just joining, we are talking about how to be more comfortable on video camera. If you want my guide on how to be more, not how to be more comfortable, how to really plan a phenomenal photo shoot, that's a separate topic. I'm not doing still camera today. You can type pictures in the chat. Make sure that you've sent me a friend request. So like Asha, Lori, make sure you guys have friend requested me. Otherwise, I will not be able to send you that guide. And if you're watching on Instagram, make sure that you message me saying you want the guide, okay? All right, Sasa is in for more ideal clients Erica's in. Great. So we're going to talk about that today as well. So you're going to learn in today's video how to move through self-consciousness on camera and get into a flow when you're recording video. All right. My pre-video practice for getting out of my head and into the zone, and practical tips for making powerful videos that engage your audience and get them curious to learn more about working with you, which is what we all want, right? So, by the way, for those of you watching in our Facebook group, we have you're in the Mastery of Coaching Facebook group. If you're on Instagram, you can send me a direct message or go to masteryofcoaching.com is the easiest way to join that group. And if you're wondering, like, why are we talking about how to be more comfortable on camera when this is a coaching group, right? But here's what I see again and again. Whether our clients work with us around their businesses alone, or if they come in and really go through our certification, Liveness Mastery, which some of you are in, Sasa or Suzanne and Erica, which is really about learning a proven method, right, to create powerful transformation for your clients while also experiencing your own transformation and breakthroughs and growing your business. Two things we see again and again that hold people back from really growing and thriving in their businesses. And this is true for coaches. This is also true for other kinds of people. The two biggest things I see are lack of clarity and self-doubt. Lack of clarity and self-doubt. Who can relate to this? Like that right now where you're sitting, you either don't feel clear about exactly what you want so you can go out and get it, right? Like you don't feel 100% clear on your vision, your goals, the plan or the path to help you get there. If so, type lack of clarity in the chat. And then if it's self-doubt, which is really what we're talking about today in the video, like I know what I want, I just don't feel confident I can actually go out there and get it, right? You sit there, like you have the vision and you have the dream, or you want to show up on camera, whatever it might be, and you just feel paralyzed. You're like, I don't know, there's so many other people doing this, like what do I have to offer? If you relate more to that one, type self-doubt in the chat. And I really encourage you guys to interact. You've been doing great so far, because here's the thing, the more you engage here, if you just have this on in the background, that's great too, but if you're really engaging here in the chat, not only can I customize what we're doing today to you, because I know what you're going through, what you're struggling with, but also it really helps you be more engaged and get more of the value when you're actively engaged, okay? So Asha said both, Erica said a little bit of both, but more self-doubt that blocks the clarity. Okay, great. So these are, like I said, the biggest things I see holding people back from really creating the thriving coaching businesses that they desire, or whatever kind of business and life of their dreams. And so today is going to be a deep dive training. We're really going to go into self-doubt and how to move in self-consciousness and how to move through that in terms of being on video. And I know some of you have the clarity piece as well. If that's you, I have a gift for you. I'll share it in a little while, okay? And it's really going to help you see what's been stopping you from getting that clarity and how to move through it. It's actually really powerful for clarity and self-doubt. And so I'll share that in just a few moments. But first, we're going to make this a really powerful training. I do not hold anything back in these trainings. If you haven't worked with me before, if you haven't been on my live streams, these are not like, let me just dangle a little bit of information and then like hit you with, asking you to come join a program. That's not really what this is about at all. I do these trainings every single week in our Mastery of Coaching group, masteryofcoaching.com. They're free and they're high value. We have a whole archive of dozens and dozens of trainings, and they're all available to you for free when you're in our group. So if you guys haven't gone back and watched some of those, you definitely should. And just know that I lead with value first, and I want to answer your questions. Make sure you come out of this training today with lots of great takeaways. All right. So I didn't start out, like I said, uber comfortable on camera, especially not video camera. I did always kind of love having my picture taken. I don't know why. It's kind of a funny thing. I used to feel really self-conscious about that, but I've always just enjoyed it. I've always felt fairly natural on still camera, but even then I would feel like, well, I don't really know how to pose, or like I would still get self-conscious. And even now, and I've done tons of photo shoots, I still have those moments. But when it came to video specifically, I had a lot more resistance, okay? Because they're different, right? Here I'm like talking, I'm in the case of a live stream, we're engaging here in the chat. It's live, so if I like say something silly and just totally fall on my face, or my dog starts barking, or whatever happens, it's all recorded, right? I don't have any choice to go back and re-record. And so I'll talk in a little while about why that's actually been one of the things that's helped me get the most comfortable on camera. But just to say that it's nerve-wracking, right? So I'm sure some of you watching are like, yeah, like, I don't know. I've tried to do video, or I want to do video, but it just feels uncomfortable, right? So I would be self-conscious, I'd be nervous, I'd be worried about whether I'd come through authentically. And I even found myself a lot of times stumbling over my words or saying a lot of uhs and ums, which I'm sure I still do. If you hear me say that, then that's just a part of it, right? I'm still learning, but it's gotten more and more comfortable. So I persevered because I know that video content is one of the best ways to connect with your following and to attract new people to your work. And this is really true more and more with every day and every month and every year that passes. Have you guys noticed that? Like TikToks, Reels, live streams, YouTube videos, Instagram stories. Like there's so many ways that we are being called to show up on video. And for those of us or those of you who don't feel comfortable, that can feel really confronting. You're like, I know I need to be doing this, or I want to be doing this, but I don't really know how to get through this fear. Who can relate to that? If so, type I relate in the chat. Type I relate in the chat. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And then I'm curious, what kind of video are you feeling like you want to be doing more of, right? Are you on here and you're feeling like, I'd love to try my hand at some live streams, or I would love to, I would love to do some TikToks, or I'd love to show up on my stories and just talk to the camera like I see so many people doing. What kind of video are you curious about doing more of? Go ahead and type that in the chat. So if you aren't utilizing, see, there I am stumbling over my words. Well, if you aren't utilizing video for your business, you're missing out on an incredible opportunity. Because when people see you on video, they get an instant feeling for you. And it feels a lot more personal than reading a post, right? Like some of you may have been following me online, and maybe you have read some of my posts, but does it feel a little bit more like we're actually connecting when you're watching me here on video, right? Like feels like we're having a conversation a little bit more. I don't exactly know who's watching unless you engage in the chat, which I would love so I can interact with all of you. But I don't know who's watching, but I'm still going to imagine I do, and I'm going to really give you guys this sort of great content and connection that's very different than what I can do in a post where it's just me writing and putting it out there online. So Asha said TikToks and lives. Sheila said I relate. I want to just get started, then do it all. I love it. Love the enthusiasm. Great. So I've made, fast forward, I used to be really uncomfortable being on camera, and now I've made hundreds of videos for my business over the last, couple of years, few years, and for my social media, and I've recorded over 50 live streams alone in the past year. So I've gotten a lot of practice. Okay, Erica said she wants to do more lives. Yeah, and what do you guys think? This is another question. What do you guys think is the cost for you and for your business of not showing up on video? Like, what do you think that's costing you right now? Because it's important to look at that, because otherwise it's just like this thing that we think we should do and we've been told we should do, and but we feel this nervousness, and that's not really enough of a reason for you to get out there and actually move through your fear. So for you to be able to move through your fear, you actually need to know, like, what is it stopping you from having or doing or experiencing when you don't show up on video, when you just feel nervous and you get stuck. Erica says not reaching as many people as deeply as we can. Yes, that's definitely part of it. Who else? What do you see as the cost to you or your business when you don't show up on video because you're nervous or because you're having self-doubt? Business and money, Sheila says. Freedom. How freedom, Sheila? I'm curious about that one. Asha says cost is not really getting my business started. Yep. Erica, not building more confidence and it's holding me back. Suzanne says costing me clients. Yeah, so all of these things, right? So this is why it's so, so important. Okay, so I'm here to tell you that it does get easier. And part of the reason I wanted to share that I felt nervous before and that now I've done so many videos and I'm a lot more comfortable is I'm going to teach you some tips and some sort of strategies today to feel more comfortable. But the truth is, as much as we hate to hear it, practice helps. Like the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be doing it. Does that make sense to everybody? That the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be doing it, right? And so this, it gets easier, practice helps. And I even encourage you to right now think about like challenging yourself. After you watch this video today and you learn the strategies I'm teaching, I want you to go out of here and actually commit to making some videos. If you're up for that, you're all like, you haven't even taught me the tips yet. Why are you making me do this? I don't want to do this, right? But just reflect for a moment on like, if you were to go out of here and create a little mini challenge for yourself, what would you do? And I'm going to tell you a couple of examples of stories, and one of them is actually not video related at all, but it is such a great story. It's this artist, he's a musician in I think he's based out of New York, or he was when I originally knew this story. Mm. And oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. I would love to share it to promote what he's up to. He was a friend of my sister's. He was a musician in New York, and he created this project, and I believe it was called 52. Okay, so this project was called 52. He was a singer-songwriter, and he committed for a year to write and record a song every single week and put it out to his fans every single week for a year, 52 weeks out of the year. Think about that for a minute. What goes into that? If you guys know anything about music, if any of you are musicians, like writing a song alone is a lot, right? To do that every single week without fail would be a lot, especially to get it to the place where you feel like it's ready to record. And then actually recording it and putting like the vocals and the instruments and the harmonies and all the different pieces in place and getting that to a place where you feel comfortable enough to release it to people to be heard. Like normally artists spend a year or 2 years working on a single album. You guys know that, yeah? So imagine putting out a song every week for a year, 52 songs in a year. Just say wow in the chat if you're like, that's incredible, right? What consistency, what commitment. Now, not only did this build his audience and his fans and his following like crazy, right? Because people were just like, this guy is doing this thing and wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to listen, they wanted to hear these songs and just be amazed, right? But it also, think about how much better, yeah, I'm getting some wows in the chat, love it. Think about how much better of a musician he became in the process. Like, I'm sure his music writing and recording and all of those skills grew by leaps and bounds over the course of that year. Another story I want to share is a coach that I follow that she said she did 365 lives in a year. So every single day, and don't worry, you guys, I'm not going to tell you you have to do that many, at least not right now. I have yet to do that myself, but she went live every day, 365 days, no matter what. Like, how incredible is that? Now, the best part about the story of the coach is that when she first started going live, very few people were getting on and listening. Very few people were watching, right? There were like a handful of people, if that. Sometimes nobody was watching. She would go live at any time of the day or night that she could just, get herself online. And in that, by the end, I don't know how many people were watching by the end, but I know she had grown a much bigger following. Now, this was just, if I recall correctly, this was just a few years ago that she did this challenge. Now, fast forward, her business is now at somewhere between 20 and $30 million a year that she's bringing in just a few years later. Like, think about that. She had a handful of people getting on her first live. She had a very small audience, and she went live every day for a year And then fast forward just a couple of years or a few short years, and she now has a 20 to 30 million dollar a year coaching business. Let's just get another wow in the chat. Because these stories are incredible, right? I admire these stories, like the dedication it takes to be that freaking consistent. I aspire to that, right? That's one of my goals. So watch the space, and maybe this will happen sometime soon for me as well. But I want you to just take that in. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go live every single day. But what I do want you to reflect on right now, yeah, wow, 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 right? Is what could you challenge yourself to do when you get off of this video today? When you get off of watching me, when you finish the training, what kind of challenge could you set up for yourself? So, some examples. Maybe you want to do one live stream a week for 90 days. Okay, that would be 12 live streams in 3 months. That's a great challenge. That's a great starting point. Or maybe you want to go live in your stories, or not live in your stories. Maybe you want to do those little short pre-recorded videos in your stories every day, 5 days a week for a month. All right, so 20 times you do it. Or maybe you want to create a content video for your YouTube or your email list once a week. So do something that feels doable, but also stretches you. Is everybody up for that? Like, think about something right now that you could do. And if you're not ready to commit to it yet, that's okay. But just notice that. And maybe I'm going to share in a minute with you, if you're having still some self-doubt and still some sort of blocks coming up, how you can, well, actually, let me just share it right now. If you, at the end of this call, still feel like, okay, I've gotten so much value, but either lack of clarity was really the thing that I'm struggling with, and or lack of self-doubt, then we do something called a clarity call. It is a free 30-minute coaching session, and it is a chance for you to really get in, dig deep, and see what are your visions and goals, what's holding you back, whether it's, it might be the self-doubt or the lack of clarity, so you can make a plan with our support to really move through that. And I always say, this is usually people who are curious about what we do for whatever reason. They enjoy my videos, they want to learn more. But we don't have anything for sale on that call. So that is a coaching call. It is a chance for you to really have a breakthrough moment. And for many people, they have that breakthrough moment and they want to continue on and hear more about our programs. If that's the case, then we invite you to apply for one of our programs. There's an application process and a separate call that you set up. So it's first and foremost a session, a free 30-minute session, and you can type clarity in the chat if that's something you're interested in. Now, if you're on Instagram, please send me a message. Don't type in the chat because the chat disappears after we get off of this video. And make sure that you have friend requested me if you type clarity in the chat, because I want to make sure that I can message you and get you set up with that call. So think about your challenge. Notice if any resistance is coming up, and I want you to type in the chat, what are you going to do as your challenge? Asha said, I'm going to do 1 live and 2 TikToks a week and begin content creation. I love that, Asha. However, what I would say is, are you doing any video right now or any TikToks, or are you starting from scratch? Because if you're starting from scratch, I would start simpler. I would start with maybe 1 live and 1 TikTok a week, or something that you know that you can actually follow through on. Does that make sense? So make sure whatever you guys choose is your challenge, and I want you all to choose one and write it in the chat. And if you're not ready to do it right now, say, I'm not ready to do it now, or I'm feeling some self-doubt, but this is what I see I'd love to do, okay? So no one may watch for a while. If you're doing lives or whatever, you may not get a ton of engagement, but if you don't, first of all, it's going to be great practice. And second of all, consistency over time will help grow this a lot, okay? And just again, observe if you're having fear, having self-doubt when it comes to showing up online on video, just notice, what is that fear about? And this is my next point before we get into some ways to get over your fears, which I know is why many of you are here. So first of all, I want you to just take a moment and tune in and just think about showing up. Like Asha, think about doing those TikToks and that live video every week. Erica, think about doing the pre-recorded videos. Yeah, you can do pre-recorded videos, Erica. How many? Is it like 1 a week for 90 days? Or like, what would you want to commit to there? It does not have to be live, but I'll talk about why I like lives in a minute. And Asha says, I've done a few here and there, but I need consistency, only one TikTok. Great. So yeah, one TikTok and one live, or just the one TikTok? Let me know in the chat. Suzanne says, not ready now. I've never posted anything about my coaching. I love that you said that, Suzanne, because it doesn't have to be about your coaching at all, unless you want it to be. You can go live about whatever the F you want. One of my favorite authors, and like she's on social media and she's like out there, right? She's super outrageous with her stuff, but I love it. She's Amanda Francis is her name. And I remember watching the first video I ever watched of her was like, what should I post on social media? And she goes on this rant and she's just like, what? And she actually cusses. I'm trying to, keep this kosher, but she's like, whatever the F you want, right? Like anything that moves you, anything that inspires you, anything that, you feel like talking about that day, you show up and talk about that online. And she was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need a strategy. Just show up. And so, Suzanne, I know you're in our program. So if you are wanting to get on video more, then we should definitely talk about that and see what would you post about. We should make a list of topics. I just list out like literally, I have this notebook here and I'm going to start going live again more just like publicly. And there's like somewhere in here, there's like 100 topics that I've written down of just things I'd love to get on live and talk about, things I notice in my coaching with people or just things in life. It doesn't have to be about coaching, right? So whatever you want to talk about, you get on and just start talking about it because it builds the muscle, you get practice, and then people start to become curious, right? If they're the right kinds of people. Okay, so what is your fear? What is your fear? So Suzanne, like if you think about why you don't feel ready yet, what is the fear that comes up, right? Asha, Erica, Lori, any of you watching, what are you afraid is going to happen? A lot of times I hear from people, I'm afraid I'm going to be judged, right? I'm afraid I'm going to look stupid. I'm afraid that my friends and family are going to see me on video and they're going to like make rude comments or not understand what I'm doing. I'm afraid that, and I want you guys to think about this and type yours in the chat. What are you afraid of? What's coming up for you? I'm afraid that, I'm trying to think what some of mine were. Yeah, I'm afraid I'm going to stumble over my words. I'm afraid I'm going to look stupid. I'm afraid that like no one's going to watch, right? I'm going to put all this time and energy into making these videos and nobody's going to show up live or watch the recording. I'm afraid a lot of people are going to show up and I'm going to be like really nervous. What is your fear? Sheila said, do you use a selfie stick, for instance, when you are outside? I don't usually. I bought this fancy thing called the gimbal. You can look it up, the gimbal. I think it's like $125 or something like that. I still have yet to figure out how to use it because it's like almost too fancy for me. But it like stabilizes the camera a little bit and you can walk around with it. So that's actually on my list to have my project manager help me with because I just, techie, I don't know, that kind of thing, not my thing. So often when you guys see me just like taking a walk and recording a video, I'm just literally like doing this. Okay, having one of these moments. When I'm at home, I have a ring light, which Sheila, you should have as well, since you're in our Aliveness Mastery program. We sent one to you, and it should have a little thing on it. So that's what my camera that is for Instagram. I have my computer going right now for Facebook, and then my camera for Instagram, or my phone for Instagram. That's up on the ring light, actually. So at home, I usually use something like that, but I keep it pretty simple. Okay. Fear is starting my coaching business and failing. All right, Asha. Yeah, we can talk more about that. But what's your fear around video specifically? No one showing up. Okay. Erica, afraid of judgment or that it won't be that valuable. All right. Okay, so it's important to know what are your fears and then just walk yourself through them. What if that fear came true? Would you still be okay? So Erica, if you get on video and people judge you, will you still be okay? And don't just like answer that in your mind. You have to like write out how you see it happening and like, would you still be okay? You see? And this is a very important step. I know this doesn't seem like tactical, and I am about to share the more tactical strategy kind of things of being more comfortable, but part of it is to walk through your fears. Walk through your fears. What's showing up, right? Amanda says, this isn't for me, way too American for me. So here you go. We have someone in the chat. That's perfect, Amanda. If it's not for you, no worries at all. And you can, choose to depart and not watch, no worries. So there you go. We have some, I wouldn't call it judgment, but we have someone in the chat right now on Facebook who is saying she doesn't vibe with this. Like, this is not her thing. And so there you go. This is a perfect example, Erica. Like, what if that happens to you, right? What if people show up and they aren't interested or they feel like it's not valuable? That's like the perfect example. And so I want you to notice that that just happened. And does that faze me? No. Why not? Not because I'm immune to like people not liking me or something like that, because I've walked myself through it. I've done enough of this at this point, and I know deep down in myself that if it's not for that person, it's not for that person, and that's okay. It has nothing to do with me. Even if someone showed up and was like being rude in the comments, which was not true in this case, but even if someone did that, I would be okay. It might like sting a little. I'm human. It might hurt, but I would be okay. So, whatever your fear is, Sheila says, I just want to look decent. So, how will you know when you look decent, Sheila? How will you know if you look decent? Because if you know that, then you can do whatever you need to do to feel like you look decent, right? And if that's just your setup in terms of like how to do the lighting and whatever, then start with your ring light. Start doing videos standing in one place, not trying to walk around with your ring light. It's going to give you great lighting. Put a nice background behind you, and then you're going to look decent, right? So, see, what is the fear there? Or how will you know, Sheila, if you are looking decent? Asha says, I have to get off. I'll catch the rest on replay. No worries. And Erica says, yes, I would be okay. Suzanne says, difficult to handle haters and fear to not be taken seriously. So if some people don't take you seriously, right? Because some people won't. Will you still be okay? And is it worth giving up all the people that you might impact? Think about it. Is this training valuable for you so far? And if I gave into my fears and I was just stuck in, well, what if people judge me or whatever that might be, then you wouldn't be getting the benefit right now of this training or any of the other trainings I've ever made if they've ever supported you or touched you in any way. So really take a moment and look and see, which one do you want more? Are you really going to stay in the fear of the judgment, the haters, the not looking good, the whatever it is, and give up the lives you might touch, the clients you might help, like everything that might come in through you showing up more on camera, showing up more on video? And that's the choice you get to make right now. Sheila says, I just need to start and the comfort will evolve. Right on, baby, right on. And if you're in our programs and you have a partner in the program, create a challenge with your partner. And whether you're the one doing it or you're both doing it, and have them help you stay on track. Celebrate in the chat, like tell us in the tribe thread, what you're doing, and we'd love to cheer you on, right? So I really want to encourage you to challenge yourself and just start somewhere. Okay, now let's talk about some practical ways to get over your fears. We've talked about looking at what the fear is, really asking yourself, would you be okay if that happened? And then, is it worth you giving up all the things you might gain? Because we talked already about what it's costing you not to show up on video, right? More visibility, more money, more impact, more freedom. Is it worth you giving all those things up and in order to stay in your comfort zone, in order to kind of stay where you're feeling those fears, but you don't have to actually address them, right? And if it's not, if you want the thing that you're giving up right now, if you want the visibility, if you want the confidence, the impact, the income growth, then I want you to really choose to commit to something, okay? So here's some practical ways to get over your fears. Erica, you're gonna love this one. Go live instead of pre-recorded. Okay, you don't have to do these. It's up to you, but if you want to move through your fear more quickly, I highly recommend going live instead of pre-recorded. Why? Why do you guys think live instead of pre-recorded would actually help you get through your fears more quickly? Anyone have a thought about that? I'm going to take a sip of my coffee while you all, she says, ha, while you all mull that one over for a second. Why would it be more powerful to move through your fear to go live instead of pre-recorded? I'm going to tell you, but I kind of want someone to guess first, and it always takes a minute in the chat. So I guess I'll just tell you. The reason is simply this. When you go on and pre-record yourself, what do you think you're going to do? What do you think you're going to do? Watch it back, right? Before you put it up online, of course, and then start. Erica says it would prove that no matter what happens, I would be okay. Yes, that's true. It will prove that. But think about when you're pre-recording, you record the video, you're like doing it, got it up on the ring light, you've got your background all nice, and you record it and you stumble over your words. And then what do? Pause, start a new video. Try again. Oh no, that one feels forced, right? Stop, start a new video. Try again. Okay, that felt a little better that time. And then you watch the video before you put it up, of course, and you're like watching it and you're like, yeah, I feel forced in that section. Like, exactly, Lori says judging. And Ikwani, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, says grasping the feeling of going live. Yeah. But to me, it is mostly about this thing that we will get perfectionistic. We will judge ourselves. We will like get stuck in all of that and maybe never put the freaking video up. Could anyone see yourself doing that? If so, just type yes in the chat. So instead, if you go live, you don't really have a choice, right? You're on live. I mean, you could end the video partway through. I've definitely done that if like my camera was accidentally sideways or something like that and I had to start over. But I rarely do, right? If I'm on, I'm on. And if I say something silly or if I have something in my teeth or I don't, think it all came out exactly correctly, whatever. You guys have heard me like probably cough and burp and stumble over my words or, all the above at some point on a live video. And that's just part of the deal. I'm human, right? It's like we're sitting here having a conversation and any or all of the above might happen. And so one of my biggest tips for getting more comfortable on video quickly is to go live instead of pre-recording. Now, you do not have to do this. If you really, really want to pre-record, then pre-record. That's perfectly okay, but do not get caught up in perfectionism. Make the commitment you're going to put the video up and give yourself a time limit, an hour or whatever it is to record that video and put it up. Okay, make a little outline. You can make outlines for your videos. You don't have to just get on and like talk. I have an outline here. I'm like scrolling back and forth on my screen between seeing the video and the chat and then seeing my little outline. So before I get on these calls, I spend some time, because this is an hour training, I spend more time on it, right? But if it was just a shorter live stream or I was just getting on kind of to talk, I might have like 3 to 5 bullet points written down and I would just kind of have them sitting here on my computer, either on a document on my computer or just like written down on a notebook. And I just glance at those to remember the main things I wanted to talk about. Okay. So making an outline is my second tip. So we talked about, moving through your fears, identifying what those are, all the stuff we talked about before, but now we're in the really like the tips and strategies. So going live instead of pre-recording, making a little outline, but then letting it flow. Don't get too caught up on the outline. If you like are in the moment and you're vibing and you're talking about something and you go off on a tangent, it doesn't matter. Like maybe that was the perfect tangent. So let it flow through. Don't let the outline get you stiff. Don't try to pre-write every single word that you're going to say. I don't do that here because that wouldn't be natural, right? I want to really come through authentically. And I know this stuff because it's in me. I'm the one that made the outline, right? So the outline is just a guide for me to make sure I don't forget anything that I wanted to share. Everyone with me so far? Okay, if you have any questions, be sure to type them in the chat as we're going so I can make sure to answer them. Ikwani says, just be as natural as we can be. It definitely helps, right? Okay, now another one. This is a fun one. A lot of times what I see is that people get really stiff on camera because they like see the little dot if you're on your phone, right? Or if we're talking about a real camera, you see like the lens and we just freeze up. We're like, I don't know what that lens is doing. Like, I think it's judging me. I don't know what's happening here. And we freeze up. Instead, what I want you to do, and we imagine like all the people out there that might be watching. I don't know if anybody else does that. So instead, what I want you to do is I want you to imagine your best friend is sitting on the other side of that lens. At this point, everyone uses Zoom, right? or some kind of video calling software. We've all used it since the pandemic started. And so we're all used to like having conversations where we're looking at that little green dot or we're looking at the screen and our friend is across from us and we're talking. Or you do FaceTime, right? So I want you to imagine that behind that little green dot, your best friend is sitting there and you guys are chatting, you're having a conversation. How would you show up if that were the case, right? Not like some scary person you don't know. No, like someone you really like, someone you get along with, someone you feel comfortable with, you can just like goof off with. Imagine them behind that camera lens, okay? And how would that change things for you? Everyone just answer that for a minute. If you didn't see some big scary person or people or whatever out there, but you really imagined you were talking to your ideal client, or sorry, not ideal client. You do want to imagine in your message that you're talking to your ideal client. So in terms of outlining what you want to say, you want to make sure that it really is something your ideal client would connect with if you are in business for yourself and you're wanting to grow your business. But when it comes to actually doing the video, I like to imagine that maybe my best friend is on the other side. Erica says, when doing a live, do you wait a bit for people to hop on or just dive in? I just dive in. So that's the thing about lives is I don't really worry about how long they're going to be or anything like that because people are jumping on and off, right? People are jumping on and off right now as I do this. And I trust that if it's meant for someone, they'll stay and they will watch. Or even if they can't watch right now, they'll come back and watch the replay. And a lot of people are going to watch the replay. They might not see you live. So if you get on and you just wait for people to come on, then you've got this long lull. And if someone's watching the replay, they're just like tapping their foot and you're going to lose them immediately. So I have done plenty of live streams where no one has showed up. In fact, last week, you guys, you may have tried to get on the live and I'm so sorry if you did. There were so many mistakes last week. Like we sent out the wrong time, or I think, yeah, we sent out the wrong time for the live. So people were trying to get on 2 hours after I recorded it. The link was broken that we sent. Um, And then the live, I did not know what happened. I recorded the live and it just disappeared after I recorded it. Like nobody deleted it, it just disappeared. And so, there's an example of like, oh, and because of all this, no one knew I was doing it. And like a couple of people came on live, but there was almost nobody on live the whole time. But I'm still going to show up and deliver completely because I don't know who's going to get on and watch the replay, right? People might get on and like it might rock their world. So you still want to show up completely, all right? Erica, relief, relax a bit, feel supported. Yes, so if you're talking to your best friend, imagine you're talking to your best friend on Zoom. Okay, create your pre-video ritual. So this is a quick one, and this is my kind of last tip on how to move through the fear. And this is what I do. You guys might be familiar with this if you've heard me talk about like a pre-sales call ritual or, any speaking. Anytime you feel nervous about doing something or you get stuck in your own head, I do a similar kind of practice. And basically it's this, I just take a few minutes before I get on or a couple of minutes, I tune into myself, I tune into my heart, and I imagine like getting out of my own way. I like to pray. You don't have to pray if that doesn't resonate with you. You could meditate or you could, whatever feels appropriate for you. But I like to pray and just say something like, please let me, let this flow through me. Let me get out of my head, drop into my heart, and just be really present. Let the perfect things, that I'm meant to say flow through for the perfect person that's going to watch this and hear it and need it today, whether they ever work with me or not. And if there are people out there that are meant to work with me, let them see this video and be so magnetized and become so curious that they reach out and they want to know more. And just, yeah, I ask for it to flow. I ask for, my attention to be off myself and yada, 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 right? I'm kind of paraphrasing. I don't know exactly what I say. But the point is I really drop down and I feel into my heart and I get out of my head consciously. And then I get on and I start recording. And that is such a powerful practice. You can create your own version of this. It doesn't matter what you do. Your version could be like turning on your favorite dance song and just like rocking out for 5 minutes to get you in the right energy. It does not matter what your pre-video ritual is. It just matters that it gets you out of your head and you're not stuck there in your nervousness and you show up in a very different way. So everyone type in the chat, what do you think your pre-video ritual could be? What would you like to do when hearing a couple of different ways of approaching it, or maybe you have another idea? What do you see that you could do as your pre-video ritual? As you're doing that, if anybody missed at the beginning, I did offer that if you're looking more for how to be comfortable on still camera versus video camera, I don't have a training on that one yet, but I do have a photo shoot guide I created. It's a 12-page guide, and it is how to take great pictures at any budget. It's free. It's my gift to you if you'd like it. Just type pictures in the chat if you are on Facebook, and make sure you send me a friend request so I can send it to you if we're not already friends. Otherwise, I will not be able to send it to you. If you're on Instagram, send me a message and ask for the photo shoot guide, and then I will send it to you. Okay? All right. So Suzanne says deep breathing. Lori says, oh no, wait, that was from before. Who else? What is your pre-video ritual going to be? Erica says, I like both of those: breath, pray, set intentions, and dance. Get into my body and not just my head. Exactly. And this can be short, you guys. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It does not need to be long. Okay, Terry wants the pictures guide. Awesome, Terry. I think we're already friends on Facebook. Yeah, looks like we are. Perfect. I'll get that to you. Okay, so a couple last things before we conclude for today. Practical tips for making powerful videos that engage your audience and get them curious to learn more about working with you. Who's excited for this one? Because you can make all the videos in the world, but if people don't actually get curious or don't reach out to work with you, or you have no way to follow up with them, then it's not actually going to result in clients, right? And not everybody that watches is going to become a client, and that's okay, you see? So first is to make it personal. Show up as your true self. Like, I'm a little goofy, I don't have it all together, and so I like to let that part of myself shine through. Tell personal stories, right? Stories are one of the most powerful things you can do in a training. I shared a couple of stories earlier to inspire you all around consistency in putting yourself out there. I shared stories of when I felt really nervous about showing up on video and how that's different now. So think of stories that connect to what you want to share, whether they're your own stories, stories of people you follow or you've heard about, or stories of your clients, right? That's a great way to do it as well. And I often share stories about clients on these calls. I just don't share who they are. I don't share their names or any like identifying details, but I still tell the stories to inspire or to illustrate a point or something like that. People love stories. They learn through stories. It's one of the most important things you can do in your videos. For live streams, get people engaging in the chat. You guys, I've been doing that the whole time, right? You're probably like, this woman keeps asking me to type in the chat. This is so annoying. But it does a couple of different things. It makes sure you're really engaged, as I shared before, and you're actively participating. Otherwise, it's like going in one ear and out the other. And it allows me to feel like I'm engaging with you. I know what's going on with you. I can tailor what I'm sharing to you. And the third thing is that it actually helps your video get seen by more people, because the more people are engaging in the video as you're walking, talking, whatever, as you're teaching, the more people engage then and after the fact, the more the algorithm goes, oh, this is a video people want. I'm going to show it to more people. Okay, that's the way the algorithm works. So you want to get people engaging in the chat. For stories, if you're doing a video in your stories, then get people engaging with a poll. You can put a poll in your Instagram stories and have people actually engage and answer a question. If you are doing TikToks, I don't really know TikTok that well, so I'm guessing you can have people like comment below the video like you would maybe on another kind of video. So those are a few things. You're going to make it personal, tell stories, get people engaging in the chat or a poll or something like that, or in the comments. And then finally, after you've taught your amazing content, everything you want to share, or even you can do this throughout the video, you don't have to wait until the end, you want to share a call to action. A call to action. You don't have to do this in every single video, but I would do it in maybe 1 out of 3 at least. And a call to action is simply this. It is, if people are curious and they want to learn more, how do they reach out? How do they get a sense for you and your work? And this should be something typically free, unless you're in the middle of a launch or something like that and you want to tell them directly about your program. But I rarely get on and like sell a program on these calls. You guys might have noticed that. So I usually get on and I give a lot more free value away. We talked about the photo shoots guide that many of you have asked for already. So that's a free guide that I'm going to give you, because then you get more of a sense for us. And even though it's a little off topic from the main work we do, it still connects. A lot of coaches and experts and business people and entrepreneurs, they need and want great photos. So you get a lot of value for it. You might go like, huh, what else does this person do, right? And then, by the way, you're on our email list too because you've opted in. And then sometimes I will give other things away, like our free coaching session, our free clarity call, which I talked about earlier, which is a free 30-minute coaching session where you get an experience of what it's like to coach with us. You actually get a free 30-minute call. You get to really dive into your vision, your goals, what's holding you back. And then if you feel like that's all you needed, then great. But ideally, you're going to love that experience so much that you're going to be like, I want more support, right? I've enjoyed McKenna's videos. I've enjoyed what she's up to. And I'm curious to learn more about one of her programs, in which case we would tell you how to apply and set up a separate call with you. But notice how all of this is leading with value first. So I really recommend thinking about some calls to action, some things that you can tell people to take action on in the video, and if they're curious to learn more, right? So for you guys today, the 2 calls to action have been photo shoot guide, type pictures in the chat if you want that, or if you're on Instagram, send me a message, or the clarity call, or the clarity call. You can get both if you want. The clarity call is for new people only, not current clients, because you guys are getting plenty of coaching with us already. So notice that I've made that call to action a couple of times. If you want the clarity call, type clarity in the chat. If you're on Facebook, and make sure you friend requested me. On Instagram, send me a message. So I'm demonstrating this for you guys because A, it's just what I always do. Lead with tons of value in the video and make a call to action if people want to experience more of what we're up to. And I want you to see it doesn't need to be forced. It doesn't need to feel uncomfortable or salesy or any of those things, right? I have no idea if you'll ever work with us, and that's okay. But I'm going to give you opportunities to dig deeper. You understand? So I want you to think about what are some things that you could give away in your videos. Do you have freebies you can give away? Do you have, some kind of free call that you offer? Or what is it that you can get people to, take action on in the call if they're curious to learn more? And then follow up with people. Like if they comment in the chat, like all of you who said pictures or photo shoot guide in the chat, I'll be reaching out to you. Anyone who said clarity in the chat, same thing. And if you're watching the replay, send me a message so it doesn't get lost. I might not see it if you just type in the chat, right? So I will be following up with you. Now, another thing that you can do is follow up with anyone who got on and engaged, right? Ask them for their feedback. You might get a message from me saying like, hey, tell me what you thought of the call. Like, do you have any more questions? You see? Does that mean I'm trying to sell you something? No, you're just starting genuine conversations. And this is the way we teach sales, by the way, in our business programs, is what we call the art of authentic sales. You're not going out just trying to sell anyone anything. You are creating genuine, authentic connections with people, and the right people. That conversation will evolve, and we teach you how to, for the right person, make invitations to where they can move on to the next step in the process, but where they never feel pushed or sold or any of the above. And so part of that is starting a lot of great conversations and then seeing where they lead. So follow up with people who watched the video, who liked the video, who commented, whatever it might be. Okay, so I think we covered everything that I wanted to cover. We're just about at time here. Any last questions? I've had some great questions today. Any last questions about how to be more comfortable on video camera? If you missed the beginning of this call, definitely recommend going back and watching. We covered so much about why this is important, about how to really identify what those fears are holding you back and start to move through those, about practical tips to get more comfortable on camera, and I've answered some questions along the way. So are there any last questions? If not, please type your biggest takeaway in the comments. I want to hear from you guys because that's like the little moment. It's for me and for you, right? For you, it's going to help you really take everything you learned today and go, what's the number one thing I learned that I want to go out and apply? And for me, it's going to give me the gratification of knowing that this was valuable for you guys and that, you really enjoyed it. So let me know your biggest takeaway in the chat. Before we sign off here, I'd love to hear from you. What are you going to take out and apply? Are you going to go do one of those challenges I talked about? I want you to think about that if you watch this whole training. Suzanne said the new mindset about posting whatever I want. Love it. I'm excited for that, Suzanne. Who else? Talking to a best friend, Lori said. Yeah, absolutely. Lori, you are Carol's good friend, right? I recognize Lori Ames. I think that's the name. So you can imagine Carol's on the other side of the video. Who else? Last couple of takeaways before we sign off here. Erica, identifying the fear and knowing I can work through it, and visualizing my friend on the other side. You, ladies and gentlemen, have been amazing. Okay, Sheila said just start. Susan, we'll make sure to get you that photo shoot guide. I think we're already friends on Facebook. Yeah, great. All right, everyone. Thank you. Happy Monday. Happy Easter if you celebrate, or whatever you might celebrate. I hope you had a beautiful weekend. I will be back with you all next week. I will be tuning in from Costa Rica. So would love to see you all on the call. We'll be staying at this gorgeous villa. We're hosting a retreat there next week called Arts of a Woman. And I'm so, so excited. It's got like this gorgeous panoramic view of the ocean. And we're going to be relaxing, unwinding, and really helping these women take their lives and their businesses to the next level. If you're ever curious, we do have another retreat coming up in September in Greece called the Aliveness Experience. I know some of you are going to be there. And so if so, you can just reach out to me, send me a message and say, I'm curious about the Greece retreat. I'd be happy to send you that info because I know people book ahead, and we want to block it off on your calendar if you want to be there. It's going to be an incredible 3.5, 4 day experience at this like other stunning resort in Greece. So I love that this is my job. We do a lot of online stuff too, but the in-person retreats are a lot of fun because we all get together in person somewhere beautiful and learn and laugh and grow. And by the way, if you're in business for yourself, it is a business write-off to go to these kinds of retreats. So it's a win-win-win, right? Okay, everyone, have a great week. I will see you next week. I believe the topic, I'm going to botch the name. I don't have it in front of me, but it's something about the 100K coach. So really going to that 100K level and what that takes. So I'll see you all next time.